The aim of it is to be right there in the centre of the industry and demonstrate to the industry the progress that's being made in production of alternative jet fuels, by which I mean fuels that are alternate to petroleum, that are renewable and that do not create net greenhouse gas emissions. What the industry wants to do is to prevent increasing CO2 emissions while at the same time enabling growth of the industry. So carbon neutral growth means exactly that. The airline industry will grow, but its associated greenhouse gas emissions will not beyond 2020. Advanced fuels are renewable fuels that are produced from feedstocks that are not involved in direct production of food and do not consume fresh water. So non-food feedstocks could be waste from a food crop or from a forest, waste from a city area or a county, or specially produced energy crops that are grown in areas that are not used for food production and preferably do not use fresh water. So we're talking about advanced fuels which are renewable and carbon neutral. That's another part of the definition. Any new industry that has a lot of uncertainties is going to be very heavily dependent on coherent and sustainable, in that sense, government policy. And that has been the case in the US and Australia. Successive governments have had policy for this emerging sustainable fuels industry, particularly in the US, where there's been a lot of funding flowing, up to $1 billion under the Obama administration. And that has really enabled the industry to leverage private funds and start to grow very rapidly. The Australian aviation industry is part of the international industry, and it's already dealing with, particularly the airlines that fly internationally, with overseas markets for carbon taxes and carbon trading schemes. A carbon price or tax in Australia will probably accelerate activity of the Australian industry, but I should say that it's already very active in this world of producing alternative aviation fuels. Qantas, for example, announced a couple of deals in the last month with companies aiming to produce alternative aviation fuels at scale. And it's working with, for example, a sustainable aviation fuel user group road mapping exercise that's being undertaken in Australia, as are the other airlines in Australia, to look at the establishment of an alternative aviation fuel industry here in Australia.